Calendula from Natural Living Alchemy. Welcome to my channel. Today, we are going to be making a whipped shea butter that is going to help heal and combat dry skin. Now, this is going to be a cold process, so that means there's going to be no heat required. And I'm going to tell you why that's a good thing in just a moment when working with shea butter. Now, this formulation also includes an optional infusion that is featuring jasmine, calendula, and lotus. Now, while it is not necessary, it is going to add some luxurious benefits to this lotion. So this formulation is going to be featuring sunflower oil, but you can use whatever light carrier oil that you have on hand if you don't have any sunflower oil. And this formulation also has another optional ingredient, vitamin E, otherwise known as MT50 or full spectrum tocopherols. And we're going to talk about why those are beneficial right away. So let's talk a little bit about sunflower oil and see why it's going in this formulation today. So sunflower oil works as a natural emollient, which means it's going to hydrate and soothe the skin. And it has a very similar makeup to our own sebum that's found on your skin. So that means that your skin can very, very easily absorb sunflower oil. And it can also help shrink the appearance of pores, scars, and even stretch marks. It is rich in vitamin E, but it also contains vitamin A, C, K, and D, all of which help against premature aging. And it is also non-comedonogenic, which means it is not going to clog your pores. And it can actually help clear your pores out of dead skin cells. And it is a fast absorbing carrier oil, which is rich in lanolinic acid, which has been found to be beneficial for acne, eczema, and even psoriasis. And it has been found to be gentle on sensitive and mature skin alike. So be sure that when you are choosing your sunflower oil, that you're picking one that is high quality and cold processed. And that's what you want to use on the skin whenever possible, because that means that the oil is going to retain all of its natural healing properties. So let's talk a little bit about vitamin E, which is our optional ingredient, but does it offer some really, really great benefits? So vitamin E actually plays a crucial role in protecting our skin from various environmental factors. And according to the manufacturer's recommendations, you could add between 2 to 30% of this ingredient into any formulation. But by adding even just 0.5% to any carrier oil, you're actually going to be helping extend the shelf life of that oil. While it isn't exactly a preservative, it will help to just prolong the shelf life of any oils that is going into this formulation. And since this formulation doesn't actually include any water, we don't really need a preservative. So our vitamin E is definitely going to be enough. And you're going to want to make sure that if you are adding vitamin E to your formulation, that you are using something like this, and you're not just opening a vitamin E capsule and putting that in, making the assumption that it's going to do the same thing. Because the vitamin E that is already in those capsules is a cosmetic product, not a cosmetic ingredient. Okay, so to my sunflower oil, what I did is I used my handy levo, because why not? If you are not familiar with what a levo is, it is basically an herbal infusing machine. Now, it is marketed for cannabis users, but I will tell you, she does more than just make a great edible. So what I did is in my sunflower oil, I have infused 2 grams of jasmine, 2 grams of calendula, and 2 grams of lotus. And I infused that into 200 grams of sunflower oil. I infused it at 180 degrees for 2 hours. Now, if you don't have an herbal machine, but you still want to make the infusion, check out the full written blog article that is linked in the description box below, where I'm going to go into more detail. And I'm also going to share some different ways that you can make your infused oil if you don't have the machine. So let's talk a little bit about jasmine. So jasmine is rich in volatile oils. And that means that it's actually containing some antiseptic properties, offering antioxidant protection against free radical molecules and oxidative stress. And these volatile oils can be beneficial in helping treat acne, as they also contain some inflammation modulating properties. And it definitely has an affinity for just soothing irritated skin, like that found with dermatitis or eczema. And it has some antioxidant and astringent properties that are going to help tone and rejuvenate your skin, helping with the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. And topically, it has also been used as a vulnerary or wound healing herb. And that means that it can help support wound healing. And it also contains some analgesic properties, which can help with pain relief that sometimes accompanies those wounds. Energetically, jasmine is cooling, tonifying, and it's moistening. And it is ruled by the moon and the element of water. Our next plant ally that I've chosen today is lotus. Now, lotus is rich in vitamin C and antioxidants that can help protect the skin against oxidative stress and free radical damage. Again, this is going to help minimize the signs of aging, such as fine lines and wrinkles. It also contains zinc, which helps regulate sebum production, and magnesium to help with cell renewal. It has inflammation modulating properties that can help soothe the skin, and it contains proteins and amino acid profiles that will help tissue repair and cell regeneration, just firming and tightening up the skin. And it also contains fatty acids, which are essential in keeping our skin hydrated. And lastly, it contains alpha hydroxy acids, which work as a natural exfoliator. And it has been used in many, many anti aging formulations. Energetically, it is cooling, moistening, and tonifying. And lotus is ruled by the planet Jupiter and the element of water. Now let's talk about our final plant ally, calendula. And that has been shown to be one of the absolute best vulnerary herbs that we have, preventing the formation of pus and the stagnation of fluids. Its antimicrobial and antibacterial properties have been shown to be effective against bacteria, fungi, and certain viruses. It has antioxidant properties helping to protect against oxidative stress and free radical damage, just like our other two plant alloys did. And it also contains some inflammation modulating properties to help soothe the skin, reducing inflammation and providing any pain relief that you might find from conditions like arthritis or dermatitis. And energetically, calendula is warming, and it has some mixed moistening and drying properties to it, but it's also tonifying. It is ruled by the sun and the element of water. So just take a little note that all three of our plants that we've chosen today actually all are ruled by the element of water. It's just something to take note of, okay? So how are we going to put this together? So you're going to need a couple pieces of equipment. You're going to need a scale. You're going to need a mixer. You're going to need a container to mix everything in. I have this handy just Pyrex glass here. So what we're going to do is we're going to just start by getting our shea butter. So I'm going to use 65 grams of shea butter. Now, you want to make sure that your shea butter is not grainy, okay? So all you would do, take some between your fingers. You're going to notice if it is feeling smooth and silky and soft, it is good to go. If you find that it is grainy, you can't use it for this formulation, okay? You could use it for other things, but you're not going to be able to use it for this because we're not going to be able to get rid of those grains by not adding any heat to it. And just to let you know as to why your shea butter might be grainy, is that would just point to that it has basically not been stored in the proper temperature. So this could happen definitely during shipping, all right? So if your shea butter ends up melting and then it does not get cooled off in the fridge, you're gonna get grains, okay? That is just the way that this butter works. So we are gonna just mix or grab out 65 grams. Now, if you do find that you do have some grainy shea butter, you can definitely still use it. Okay. But it's just you're going to still feel those little grains. And it can sometimes, they do work into the skin, but it just doesn't necessarily give you that nice of a finished product if you're looking for something that is going to be light and whipped and fluffy. Okay. Actually, just a second. I wanted 65, not 63. Almost made the mistake already. Okay. So once you have your 65 grams of shea butter, non-grainy shea butter weighed out, next we're just going to weigh out our other ingredients so that they are ready to go. So we are going to be using 33 grams of sunflower oil. Okay. Yeah, so what I like to do when measuring out some of these different oils, oh, well, you went down a little bit, is just to keep pouring it in until you get almost to the end, and then just using like a small pipette and taking it up to the amount you need that way. Good, good. All right. And then next, we are going to be requiring 2 grams of your vitamin E. If you do not have vitamin E, you would simply put 35 grams of oil in instead. If you do have it, we've just taken the measurement out of our oil content. Now, this is a very, very thick, viscous oil. Okay, so you just take a little bit of patience working with it. So we have our little bit measured out. Yeah, I have made this mistake before where I was just because it does have a little dropper top. It comes out far too fast out of that still. Okay, now that we have everything mixed out, you're going to take your shea butter and yeah, we're just gonna have it in a container that you can fit a mixer in. So I knock some of these things over. So first, what you're going to want to do, because it is a little bit harder, is you're just going to want to take your beater and just kind of Push it in there, just kind of warm it up and just kind of work with it in that way. Okay. And then once it's been kind of mashed up, you don't have any clumps in it, then you can turn your beaters on. And you're going to start low. You can work up higher. You're just going to whip your shea butter until it is smooth and uniform. Definitely make sure that you are stopping periodically to just scrape the side down so all of your butter just doesn't end up stuck on the side. So that's starting to look really, really good. So next, you are just going to put your oils both in. And then what you're going to do first, before you just put your mixer in here and turn it on, and then you're going to end up throwing all of your oil all over the place. Ask me how I know. So we're just going to start to just kind of incorporate it a little bit, I'm using this little spatula. You could use a spoon, whatever it is that you have on hand. And you just want to start to kind of mix this in so that it basically just isn't going to go flying everywhere when you turn your beaters on. And then, yeah, I just like to kind of wipe my little spatula on the edge of the beaters, just getting as much of it off as I can. And yeah, because we're only making 100 grams, this is going to be super, super easy to upscale it to make a much larger amount if you find that you enjoy this. All right. So now, as you can see, it is nice, light, it is fluffy. It's actually holding some stability in it, which is nice. You don't want it to be too liquidy. Now, I do want to just mention a couple of things. Depending on where you live in the world, you may need to adjust the oil to butter ratio in this formulation. So if you find maybe you're in a little bit of a cooler climate than what I am, you might find that this isn't turning out the exact same. So like I've said before, I live in southern Saskatchewan. It is today already 27. It's 10 a.m. It's going to go to like 34. It is hot here. Okay. So yeah, just you want to make sure, depending on what climate you're in, if you find this is too hard or too soft, you just would want to adjust your oil and butter ratio. So once you have everything all nicely mixed in, you just want to pour it into a jar. Now, this is a little bit too thick for something that you just maybe wanted to put in a pump bottle. That's probably not going to work. You would definitely want to play around with your butter and oil ratio at that point if you were wanting it to be thin enough to go through a pump jar or bottle. Now, I did choose a jar that was a little bit too big, but this is really the only one I had. I just need to order myself some, but around here, we just work with what we have, and that's enough. Right. So what you would do is after you have it in your jar, you're just going to want to obviously grab a label, write what it is. If you've used any infusions, you could definitely write what that is on the label, but you're going to want to make sure that you know exactly what this is because this looks a lot like the sunscreen we made the other week. So just to try it out, it's probably too much. So we'll just grab some, and yeah, it just absorbs into, oh, it's nice, silky, it's smooth, and it's absorbing nice and fast, and it is soothing the dry skin that I'm having right now. All right, I just wanted to come on here today to test our lotion the next day. So as you can see, the consistency looks the same. Let's test it out. Let's make sure that it is still just nice and light and fluffy. I have one note that I just want to share with you in making this lotion. You want to make sure that you are never putting this on an open wound. And that's because as we learned about some of the plant allies that went into this formulation, they are really, really, really efficient wound healers. Almost too efficient, because what could end up happening is if you put this on a wound that's too deep, okay, too open, too whatever, it could actually end up closing the top of the wound up, which, yes, we think that might be a good thing, but underneath there's an infection and you run the risk of turning septic. Okay, that is not what we want. So just make sure that you're never using this on an open wound. Okay, so comment down below and let me know, how are you planning on using this whipped shea butter? Are you going to add some infusions of your own? Are you going to make it as it is? I'd really love to hear about it. So don't forget to hit that like button and share this video with anybody who you think might enjoy it. Maybe consider subscribing to the channel so that we can spend more time together and you don't miss future videos. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, so be sure to connect with me over there as well. I just want to say thanks for stopping by today, and I'll see you next time.